Social media gets blamed for a lot: comparison, burnout, loneliness, endless scrolling. But what if it's also helping people find real friendships and real community again? Today's guest is Amy Keating, city owner of the Beauty Boost Fort Lauderdale, a community built around empowering women through wellness events, social, fitness experiences, retreats, and connection. From workout events and networking mixers to women showing up solo and leaving with actual friendships, Amy has built something that reflects a major shift happening right now. People are craving real-life connection again, as social media is often the thing bringing them through the door. So thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so we have to tell everyone before we even get into it how we met.
Yes.
So we actually met at a Beauty Boost event.
We did.
And it was one that was about like female founders, entrepreneurs, business owners. I was speaking at it. And it's so funny because it's one of those things that I feel like people like never want to match somebody at the event. You know, or like you get dressed in the day and you think like, oh, this is a great dress. And then, of course, we both show up in the same dress.
We sure did. We matched. But, you know, and I'm sure we'll talk about this as well. I went to that event alone. And so to match with someone, I had an easy way to start talking to someone else. So I actually didn't mind it at all, especially going alone.
Yeah. And honestly, me neither, because it was a fun like icebreaker.
Yes.
Because then everyone wanted to talk, like not just you and I talked, but then everyone was like, but where did you get the dress from? And then that led to a bigger conversation of I do a clothing rental, a monthly clothing rental. So then everyone's like, what? I've never heard of that. And it just kept like spawning off all these side conversations.
It totally did. And then we learned I also bought that dress off the same clothing rental.
Yes.
So many connections. And that is what those events are all about. So
yes.
I will match with anyone because it means we can have a great, I think means we were meant to meet, right?
Yes.
We're meant to connect.
Yes. And it's so girlhood to be like, you know, like, oh, I like your dress or I like your top or something, but to wear the same. Hilarious.
Yes.
So let's jump right in and tell us about your background and how you became involved with the Beauty Boost.
Yeah, absolutely. So I spent about 8 years working at what was essentially a startup within JetBlue. Mm-hmm. I had the pleasure of starting as a senior analyst on a small team of 8. And then by the time I left, I was the head of commercial and my team alone was over 70. So I oversaw marketing, partnerships, business development, as well as a small customer support center. And it was an incredible experience, a huge part of my identity for many, many years. But eventually with success, businesses grow and then they turn into a little bit more of that corporate machine again. And so I definitely hit a point where I was ready to put a bow on an amazing chapter of my career and figure out what was next. And I will say, I didn't know what was next right away, and it took some time, which I think is a super natural thing. You don't have to have the answers all the time right away. And so I started consulting because I had a lot of connections. And so I used those connections to consult while I figured out, you know, what was my more permanent path. And consulting morphed into coaching. And I fell in love with helping people bring out the best in themselves, bring out the best in their businesses. And so I still do that today. But what I realized is that as a consultant and a coach working remotely, I totally missed community. You know, when you're at your job and I was in person 5 days a week, you have a built-in community.
Yeah.
We ate lunches together. We had inside jokes. These were my friends, not just my coworkers. Mm-hmm. And so I missed that. And so I, in November of last year, had said to myself, I'm growing community this year, no matter what, in this next chapter of my life. And of course, I saw on social media an event that brought me into a community. And I am not someone who had ever really attended anything like that alone before. So I just took a chance and I fell in love with it. I obviously met great people like yourself, but I also loved the energy. And so I went to the previous city owner and I said to her, how can I get more involved? And I didn't know what that would entail, but ultimately I became an ambassador for the Beauty Boost. And fast forward, I am now the city owner. And I do want to mention too a little bit about what the Beauty Boost is.
Yes.
So it is a women's community. It is in over 35 cities across the U.S. It was founded in 2015 in Columbus, Ohio. And it's been in Fort Lauderdale for a number of years now. And so I'm very fortunate that a couple of amazing women before me actually created this community. And so I'm building off of a great foundation.
Yes.
And I spend all my time just trying to create connections between local women in the Fort Lauderdale community, helping them feel empowered, beautiful, and healthy.
Yeah, every event that I've gone to, because there was, before you, it was Amanda, the owner, then Jackie, and every event I've gone to, I've always felt very welcomed, and they are fantastic events to meet people. And I think people forget like the power. We're gonna get into that more, but the power sometimes of just showing up is like half the battle. Like that's the hardest part. It's like everyone's got a busy calendar. Everyone's got something going on. I saw a TikTok this morning where it was like everyone like is going through something, but like it's up to you like to push through. And I think that sometimes in this like world of very like solo, like me, woe is me, you know, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? People forget that there is a community out there. And also a lot of the same people are going through the same struggles other people are going through. Like even going from a corporate to now like freelancing and doing your own thing, you're not the only one. There's so many stories like that, but it could feel like lonely or isolating if you're not reaching out to people. And that leads me to ask you, you know, why do you think making friends as an adult is so much harder?
Yeah, you know, I'm going to speak a little bit from personal experience again, but I do think this is, many people will realize how relevant this is. Most of our lives, we have a built-in community.
Yes.
You're at home with your family, you're at school, then you go to college.
Yes.
Then for most of us, our beginning of our careers were in person. I know that's changing a little bit now, but friendships happened organically. We were out there. We were in person. We were making connections. And now, you know, as adults, we're working remote more.
Yeah.
Or we've moved cities and we have to start over and we have to start from scratch. And so I don't necessarily think that, you know, adults lack any interest in making friendship. I actually think they really want to make friends. I think they lack an infrastructure for it when they get to a certain point in their lives. But I actually, and I will say, because I know social media is a huge topic for today too, I think social media actually helps that in many ways for adults, because it's that like opening to a connection opportunity or an inspiration to get out of the house and go make some connections.
It is. And also too, say you meet someone quick, but then you follow them on social media, then you can kind of connect later on as you're like, oh my God, you went to that coffee shop. I love that coffee shop. Let's go there. Or like, oh, you work out that gym. Tell me about that gym. I'll go to a class with you. Like I even remember when I first moved into a condo building in Fort Lauderdale that I was in for a bit, there was like a holiday party for the residents. And I was like, oh boy, like I'm going to go to this holiday party. I don't know anyone, but like I just moved here, first time homeowner. I'm like really excited. And if I'm going to do this, like I'm going to like put myself out there. And immediately the assistant property manager was like, oh, Kassie, meet Jamie. I think you guys will be friends. And we became like instant best friends. Like I just went to Alaska with her family. Like literally those connections can happen, but it's a matter of putting yourself out there. And I think people either hide behind social media or forget that it is a tool and it is good and it's part of what you can, you know, use.
Yeah.
So like I said, we hear so much negativity about social media, but a lot of people can find community events, support systems, and even friendships because of it. What are the positive sides of social media that people don't talk about enough?
Yeah, I definitely think that people don't talk about social media as this bridge to real life connection. And that really is how I see it. I mean, you mentioned it, right? Many times you'll follow someone on social media for months. Maybe you've replied to a story, maybe not, but then you might run into them in person and you already feel familiar with them. So it can often be easier to go up to them.
Yes.
You don't have to say, hi, I've been following you. I'm not saying that that's how you start that conversation, but you already know they like dogs and you like dogs. And so you kind of have that way to start a conversation that feels more natural. And so I do think social media creates familiarity. I also think the other benefit is social media also can inspire people to get off their phones and stop doom scrolling and get out. You know, I think there's this concept of, you know, can FOMO be a bad thing? I actually think FOMO is a really great thing because if it means that you're seeing other girls laughing, connecting, getting coffee, doing a workout, moving their bodies, by all means, feel the FOMO and get out and go do it yourself too. So I think there's a lot of positive for sure. But I think that if you default to taking your social media, doom scrolling to an event, then at that point you could have stayed home. So there's that negative side of addiction or using it as a crutch if you're shy or nervous. So you really have to put that aside and just really put yourself out there and make those connections.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so important to put the phone away when you are out and about. I even know like when I love a good hot girl walk. And before I got a dog, which is recent, I would have my headphones in or some music or I'm listening to a podcast and I'm kind of focused. But when you have a dog, you're almost forced to be present because like, you know, you're like, oh, he's saying hi to this person. Like, oh, I got to like pick up after him. Oh, he wants to pull here. Like you don't really have time to zone out. And it realizes like you have to be present. And so like the Beauty Boost, I think you guys do a good job. There's like activities or things that get people moving, and not just like, it's not like an event where you're just sitting in a corner or sitting at a table the whole time. So I think it fosters that moment of like, oh, I have to put my phone away because I want to. Yeah. There's things to participate in.
Exactly. And I think that's the other thing too, of we don't create our events necessarily around Instagrammable moments. And I think that's super common in community brands, because I think an Instagrammable moment is just that. You can take a photo, but it's not necessarily real. It's not deep. And so we actually craft our experiences and our events around things that women actually want to do that ignite conversations. And I think you can still make those Instagrammable moments, but the purpose isn't perfectionism. It's not aesthetic necessarily. It creates its own aesthetic, I guess, a little quirky one, right? Where things aren't perfect. But it's really about like, I think about how can I get women to meet each other? How can somebody who comes alone to our events feel comfortable? It's not, does everybody have a matching outfit? You know, it's a very different environment. And I think that actually leads to, you know, more of our women coming back to events constantly because it feels more real.
Yeah, I mean, how many events have I been to where it was created more for like an Instagram moment, and you get there and it's just like, you know, people take their photos, they're posting them in their corners, they're getting their content, no one's mingling, it's awkward, and it kind of has a mean girl energy vibe, which I really don't believe that everyone there probably is, but it just has that vibe of like, it's not fostering connection. It's more like, I'm here to post my content, get my swag, and go. So there is a big difference. And even I have hospitality clients, and we talk about if we're going to post about like hotels and restaurants and we want people to come, they can't just want to be there for like, because the Instagram looks good. It's the experience. It's the things that are not on social media that makes them want to come back, like a waiter remembering their name or how they felt, not necessarily, you know, a cool pool that they took an Instagram photo at.
Absolutely. And I think that really ties into as well the idea that a community that is visually, aesthetically perfect can also feel really intimidating.
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many of these and they look amazing. And I think it can ignite in you that feeling of, oh, I wish I was that girl who did my hair and makeup for my workouts, who wore a matching set with my friend to the workout to take a cute pic. Like, I wish I was that girl. But most of the time, I'm not able to be that girl. Like, isn't conducive for that. And so I don't want to go to an event necessarily that requires that. Or maybe I'll go once in a while and I'll be like prepared for it. Right. But our events can be much more casual. And I think that can feel more freeing, more open, and also lead to actual connections because it's less intimidating.
Right. A little more approachable, for sure. Exactly. And people don't realize too, social media as of July last year is now functioning more as a search engine. So keywords are showing up for events. So people move to Fort Lauderdale, for example, they can type in, you know, events near me or, you know, communities near me or how to make friends. And it's popping up on TikTok and Instagram and a lot of the other platforms where people are discovering. And I see it all the time where people even saying like, where can I go? I just moved to Fort Lauderdale and I like walks and I'm in my late 20s, early 30s. Like I literally see all those videos and I'm always trying to send them to you know, Beauty Boost or Art Club and a lot of these events, because also too, I think in this day and age, a lot of people are trying to get away too from like bars and drinking, you know, like sure, people love that too, but there's also like a call or a need for events that are not centered around that. So I think that's also a nice part for Beauty Boost is that there's an event for everyone and it's not necessarily like wrapped around going out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, you know, our community of women, they're mostly the ages of 25 to 45, sometimes a little older, sometimes a little younger. And at the end of the day, they're into wellness and fitness, but they're not extremists. And so they want a little bit of social, maybe a cocktail. But to be honest, we've served alcohol at some of our events, you know, at a bar or restaurant. You'd be surprised how many women are getting mocktails on a Tuesday night for Valentine's Day rather than the rosé that we're offering. Yeah. And so, but they still feel comfortable to connect without the alcohol, which is another piece. I think some women, you know, feel that they need to drink to go to these events alone. But I think you'd be surprised within our community. It's actually not as common as you'd think. Yeah. And I see that being a big trend in this area and beyond. I mean, even a lot of people are posting like,
I moved to Miami and I haven't had a drink in months because people are very wellness focused.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big shift because a lot of people would be like, oh, well, you have to make friends at a bar or you have to go out to meet people, and you really don't anymore, which is nice. And now shifting into more how social media can appeal to people who are searching for these kind of communities. How important are real stories and seeing other women like in the content?
Absolutely vital. I think in general, people are naturally nervous about the unknown. And so being able to visually see what it will be like, what kinds of people are going there, what they're doing, what, them laughing together, them having a good time, it subconsciously can answer some of the questions that we're saying to ourselves as we think about going to an event, which is, would I fit in there? Would I feel comfortable there? Like, that's what's happening in the back of our brains. And so to be able to see it, you're like, oh, I think I would fit in there. I think I would feel comfortable because I can see that. No matter how much I talk about an event, I always tell people, I'm like, please look at our Instagram if you're, at all considering, because you'll start to pick the pieces together. There are just girls who just met each other that day, laughing and having the best time, exchanging numbers. That happens all the time.
Yeah, and that's something we tell our clients a lot too. I'm like, you have to put people in the content. Like, people can see through AI and stock videos. We just released an episode about that of like, the AI videos are really obvious, or people will be really disappointed if they came because they saw something that online that doesn't match what's real. And people want real. They don't want perfect. They want to see, real bodies, real humans, and real jobs, and, just real life, which is so funny because I feel like social media, yes, can be so curated, but sometimes we've curated ourselves so far that now it's like bouncing back. The rubber band has to bounce back to like the realness side of it.
Absolutely. I love that example.
Yeah. And I think there's a huge shift too happening where people are starting to do things more alone. I've seen a lot, even on TikTok, of like rating things I've done alone on a scale of 1 to 10. And like, people like, I went on a cruise, 0, nobody cares. Or like, I went to see a show, nobody cares. Like, people rate them. Or people are like, I actually took myself to dinner for the first time alone. Like, it's funny because it's like a wild concept, because a lot of our families and past generations, they really were not as independent as like this generation has become or is. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to be independent or not have to wait on people, but it's only a bad thing if you're holding yourself back. So why do you encourage women to attend, even if they don't know anybody?
I mean, I would say my own story. Right?
Exactly.
My life changed.
Yes.
My life changed by doing something alone. And again, if you had asked my, former team at my corporate job, they would have said absolutely not. Amy would never go to an event by herself, because I'd always bring somebody with me, because it was comforting, right? Then you don't have to talk to strangers. It's easier. But I would say, I'm so proud of myself for going to that event alone. I don't know what spurred, other than I knew I wanted community and this looked warm and welcoming. And so why not go? But I would say to people, growth happens when you do uncomfortable things.
Yes.
And I think that I feel like I've grown a lot. For sure. I know I have. But the other thing that I tell people is, what's the worst case scenario? If you don't click with anyone and you go to this event by yourself, that's okay. You wasted a few hours, maybe a few dollars, but most of us have wasted far more time doom scrolling and far more money impulse shopping on TikTok. So truly, like, I want to know, what's the real risk other than that fear?
Yes.
But I would absolutely encourage everybody, try things alone. It feels so good at the end of it, because you're building your confidence at the end of the day.
It's so true. And I think, as a business owner who didn't really want to become a business owner, but became that, I had to push myself out of my comfort zone from the get. And even a few years ago, I had one of my first large client trips. I had to travel to Europe, and I only knew the CMO. So I'm traveling to Europe by myself. I only knew the CMO, which means not much, because I'm probably never going to see him at this trip. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in a foreign country. They don't speak English. And I'm here for a client. What am I going to do in said country for this whole week? Yeah. One of the best experiences. And then when I went back, I was even more comfortable. But it's one of those things of I'm really never sad of when I push myself out of the comfort zone, because you do either learn something about yourself or it's better than you've ever expected. And I think our brains were tailored to imagine the worst.
Yes.
But why not imagine the best?
Absolutely. I love that line. And I think too, as humans, we all really do dream of like the next level of ourselves.
Yes.
And so we're always wanting that. And I really believe that you can't create that different life or what you're looking to achieve as your next level if you do the same things every day. So you have to try new things, right? And give it a go. And if you really hate it, that's okay. Again, you wasted a few hours of your time. You wasted maybe $20, whatever that event cost. It's not that big of a deal. You've wasted far more time and money on other things.
Right. And there are so many networking events I've gone to, especially when I first started my business, where like I'm not getting any clients from it. Sure. You go, you meet people, but you're making, relationships and friendships, and you're becoming kind of a force in that community of like, oh, that's the girl who does social media. And then also you're just flexing your skills in the sense of practicing networking, practicing your elevator pitch. And there was actually one time I met this girl, and she and we were yapping, and she's younger than me, and I told her she should come to General Provision. Well, she was here for years before she moved. She'll definitely probably come back when she comes back. But she made like some of her best friends from this office. And it was just like one conversation, and it had nothing to do with business per se. And then her mom was actually a client of ours for a bit. Like it led to business, but it's like you can't go into those things either. For wanting something, but a lot of times it does return, like come back to you.
Absolutely. I mean, just in networking in general, I've been to so many events where I've been shocked that, it could be 8 months, 12 months later, and someone I met at an event that connected with on LinkedIn or followed them on Instagram, whatever it might be, social media, keeping us connected, it comes back around. They'll remember something about me or that I was a business coach, and suddenly they have somebody that they wanted a business coach, and it comes back. So yeah, it might not have instant reward, quote unquote, which I know many people these days, we're all used to that. But it's so worth it in the long run. And you have to open the door a little bit to even enable those opportunities to come through. And if you go to an event fishing for opportunities only, people can read that on you.
They really can.
Yeah, they really can. But if you just open the door a little bit so that I'm open to opportunities, you have no idea what will come your way, and usually good things will eventually come.
It's so true. And I want to talk about what you have here.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So, I mean, we were talking about, social media and how it impacts friendships as we were preparing for this. And it reminded me that not that long ago, I have a team of ambassadors for the Beauty Boost. And again, I was one before I was city owner. And we were at an ambassador-only event, which we do to meet up and just create a mini community within the community. And I had asked everybody to write a little love letter to the Beauty Boost. And I mean, I didn't tell them what to write. I just said, write about whatever you love about this community. And pretty much all of them talked about the friendships. So I have a few here that I was going to read, but they're short and sweet, right? This community has given me my people. I joined for the events, and I stayed for the friendships.
No,
I know, I love it. I am thankful I'm thankful for this community because I met some of my favorite girls. And I really love this one because I think that, especially when you're new to cities, and I think in Fort Lauderdale, we do get a lot of people who come in and out and move. But this one says, I'm from Haiti and I didn't know anyone. So I joined the Beauty Boost, and now I've made so many friends.
That's literally proof in itself.
Exactly. And I have like goosebumps.
Yes.
That's really why I do this. That's why this community is here. It is to make connections, to help women feel that love, to feel healthy in their bodies. So we do the movement, but also to feel empowered. And it brings me so much joy. So.
No, it's amazing. And I think a lot of brands can, learn from this too, in the sense of, can they build their own community? Not just, even if they're a makeup brand or any kind of company, can they foster their own group within, or even an internal, community? And I think, building a community sounds easy sometimes, like, oh yeah, I can do that, or I can repeat that. But even if it's in person or online, it does take constant consistency, engagement, and showing up. And tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, consistency is so important. Especially because a community is about interaction. And so if you were to just pop up once a month, that doesn't feel like a friendship. That doesn't necessarily feel like connection. And I think that a lot of brands are mistaking broadcasting with community. I need to broadcast so that people know my events exist. That's a job function, right? I'm going to make sure to do that.
Yes.
But I don't define that as, I posted about my event, so I've connected with my community. No, connections are made in the comments. They're made in the DMs.
Yes.
They're made in just reacting and true human interaction. And so yes, I'm on social media with the Beauty Boost Fort Lauderdale account, and I'm following girls that I meet at events.
Yes.
I'm following all my partners. I'm commenting, I'm resharing. If they're posting about their dog, I love dogs. I'm going to be like, that's the cutest dog I've ever seen. So I think it's important to know that there's a human behind the brand. Otherwise, it can feel staged or stale or just transactional at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of companies need to remember, because I think sometimes they come to us as a social media agency like, oh, can you post this event? Or like, why are there no signups if you posted the event? Like, oh, one post is not going to elicit signups. That was like a check mark of, yes, it was on there, but then we have things that we need to do to follow up, or we need to engage, and just teaching people and reminding them the importance of that is crucial. Because I think a lot of people think of social media like a billboard, like we put it up there, everyone saw it, but like, no, it requires next steps for sure. When I was in my master's, one of our projects, we had to actually build a Facebook community. And I, at the time, was like, fell into a dark hole of Law and Order SVU. And I made like a Facebook community about like people just wanting to chat about Law and Order SVU. It got to the point where it was so big. People were like writing like fan fiction and sharing it. People were messaging me on the side. And like, this is just a project. Like I'm into it, but not that deep. Someone was knitting like a blanket of all their faces. Like it got so deep that when the class was over, I had to like transfer ownership to somebody else, because it was a huge community and does require consistency. And but if you build it and you build it right and people feel comfortable, they will be there.
They will. That is so true. Oh, I love that. That's so
hilarious.
Funny. Yeah, people go deep on any topic.
Yes. So sometimes the more niche, even the better.
Yeah, absolutely. I would fully agree with that. And I know we talked like a little bit, mostly for me, I've talked a little bit about Instagram, but I'm definitely trying to get more into Threads, because I do find that Threads are enabling these like niche conversations as well.
Yes.
More so than, even if I were to post a story or post in feed about a specific topic, like I get some engagement, of course, but people don't really feel maybe comfortable going deep on it and really reacting. And in Threads, it's like opening this door to like everybody gets to chime in. They get to...
It's fun.
Participate.
Threads is a fun place to be. If people are not on there, they should be there. I could scroll there for too long.
Yeah.
So we close out every episode with a few quick questions. Yes. The first is, what's your current favorite social media platform and why?
Okay. I will say that it is Instagram, because I will not let myself fully open the personal door to TikTok, because I feel like I can't have yet another platform that I'm scrolling.
So no, I know.
And then, there's definitely business reasons that TikTok, that I'm going to engage with TikTok. But yeah, so I will say Instagram, because I'm not quite ready to let myself fully open the TikTok door.
I get it. And Instagram is still a staple.
Yes.
And what's one social media trend that you wish would just disappear?
Oh my gosh, you brought this up earlier. I really need the AI videos to stop. Like, I can't see another miniature pony that I'm like, wow, that's so cute, only to be like, that's not real.
Yes.
It's tricking me. It's making me, it just looks so beautiful. And I'm so upset that people are going off the deep end with it.
It's gotten so bad, even with like fitness, because like I like to follow like different fitness accounts for recipes.
Yeah.
But then some of those accounts will try to like slip in an ad for like a supplement. And like I saw one the other day where they were like, it was a girl's like before and after. And it was not real. Like she didn't even like exist. It was an AI video of her before and after. And everyone's like, oh, we were here for recipes, but I guess we're going to unfollow now. Like it's such a turnoff.
Yeah, no. And you can eventually tell. And so I do think it's not good for the long run for the brand either.
No.
But yes, I get tricked all the time, I will say. And it makes me so upset. It takes, you have to I will say the engagement number is probably great, because I'm pausing for a few extra seconds to be like, is this real or not? But then I don't want to engage with that account anymore, to your point. So don't let those metrics mislead you that it's working.
Exactly. Well, this conversation was such a good reminder that social media doesn't have to replace real connection. It can sometimes be the link that helps people find it. We're going to connect everyone with you in the show notes with the links to the Beauty Boost and your LinkedIn. And thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was really fun. I appreciate it.
Thank you.